Hello everyone, my name is Miss Best and this is Art at Home. This channel is going to be dedicated to art and art history, and I'm hoping that this will provide support for people who are learning art at home, and hopefully you find this helpful. Let's dive into it. A sketch, also known as a study, is different from other forms of drawing because you usually are not going to spend a huge amount of time on it. You can see from these examples that I got off Instagram, the idea is to practice. Sketches will often use hatching or cross-hatching to make quick fields of value, and it doesn't need to show the same level of detail or completion as your final project would. Whenever I'm getting ready to sketch, I try to grab everything that I think I'm going to need ahead of time so that I'm not feeling interrupted by getting up to grab something. Here I have my phone, my earphones. I usually get something to drink. Today it's Yogi Kava Stress Relief Tea. Then I grabbed my still life objects, my sketchbook, pencils and erasers from my pencil case, and of course a ruler and a sharpener. Okay, so now that I have all of my materials, I'm going to show you an example of what I'm going to have us do first. Here's a thumbnail sketch with a box around it, and here is a free sketch without the thumbnail box. Once I have a new page, I'm going to grab my number 2 HB pencil first, just to show you that that HB code that's underneath the eraser is the same as the HB in the set of graphite pencils that you might have. So HB is kind of like in the middle of the spectrum. If H is on one side and B is on the other, and HB is just a normal kind of middle of the road pencil. So I'm going to start there just to make my thumbnail box. I'm not going for a specific measurement with this one. I'm just trying to use the edges of the paper to make sure that the lines are nice and straight and parallel to the edges of the paper. But you can measure this out and make it a specific width to height ratio if you want to. Next, I'm going to grab my 3H pencil. If you think of H as being the lighter end of the spectrum, 3H is quite light. It'll be difficult to see what it is I'm doing here just for a moment, but I promise to make it darker. I just want to start light in case I make any mistakes so that I can easily erase them and not have them show through. The next thing I'm doing is making these space-saving boxes, which kind of show how tall something is compared to how wide it is. That's known as proportions, the height to width ratio. So now that I have those proportion boxes laid out, I'm going to start sketching in my first object, which is a houseplant, and just making sure that the tallest leaf is touching the top of that space-saving box and the bottom of the pot is touching the bottom of the space-saving box. This eraser pen, by the way, is by STAEDTLER, and it has Mars plastic, so it's a white eraser, which is great, and it can retract so that you keep the eraser clean. Now I'm going to start my second object in this still life sketch, which is a candle. And candles are tricky sometimes because they have circles, but they are more drawn as an ellipse when they are viewed from the side. So you have to make sure that the corners of the ellipse are not too pinched, but they're not too pill-shaped either. You kind of have to get that good combination of stretched out oval shape for that. By the way, I feel like now is a good time to give a disclaimer about the way I hold my pencil. So I'm aware that I hold it a little differently than a lot of people. This is just what's comfortable for my hand, and I can hold it with your normal kind of tripod grip, but I feel like my fingers get tired faster that way. I don't know. Does anyone else hold their pencil weird? Or is it just me? I've just gone through and started adding in some base layers of value, so shading in other words, just to make sure that my plant is not white on the inside and that the candle is not white, because I do see colors there, but I'm gonna transform them into more of a grayscale since I'm working with just graphite pencils and not colored pencils, and kind of imagining what those shades would look like if they were in grayscale, and then that's the shade that I'm going to give them. Next, I'm going to grab my HB pencil once again, as you can see here. These are Derwent pencils, by the way. I bought this set when I was a freshman in college, and they have lasted me a really long time, so I highly recommend Derwent pencils if you're looking for a graphite pencil set to buy. And I'm adding in some mid-tone values here, not too dark but not too light, and making sure to use pencil control so that I'm not pressing too hard on the paper, just making sure that I get in a good range of light to mid-tone to dark values. Now right here, you're about to see me erase part of the thumbnail box and bring it down lower. When I was in art school, I learned that you're not supposed to have things crop or have things touch the bottom of your composition. You should really have a little bit of open space there. It helps prevent the drawing from looking like it's being weighed down, and it's just kind of awkward. So I went ahead and just made the thumbnail box a little bit bigger rather than erase my whole plant drawing, and continuing to add in some of those lighter shadows, kind of mid-tones still, not too dark, because I'll be using a darker pencil for that. Last here, I'm gonna grab my 4B pencil. I don't think you can really see that code, but it's right there. It's just worn off because these pencils have been used so much. And as you can see, this pencil is quite a bit shorter than my HB and my 3H pencils. The B pencils have much softer graphite on the inside, so they tend to get worn away faster. It still lasted a long time, but it's just a lot smaller than my other pencils are, so my pencils are all different sizes. Now I'm going through and adding contrast and dimension and the illusion of space by making sure that I have some deep dark shadows mixed in with my midtones and my highlights. It helps to create things that look more three-dimensional and realistic if you can have a broader range of values in them. I always recommend doing cast shadows, especially for things like still lifes, because you don't want the objects to appear as though they're floating. It kind of takes away from the realism of it. So adding in cast shadows and making sure you pay attention to the direction and the shape of the shadows is going to help you create something that looks more realistic. Okay, we're gonna call that one good. That was about 20 minutes. Next, I'm going to be doing a portrait of Jordan Castile. She's a cool contemporary artist who's based out of New York. So I have her photo pulled up here, and I'm gonna grab my 3H pencil once again, just to start off with the lightest pencil possible. And I'm going to be starting by putting the direction of her head tilt, kind of the angle of it, going straight down the middle of her face there so that I can erase it later, but this helps me make sure that everything is going to have that slight tilt to it. I have the head sketched out here, but I'm going to make sure that I carefully draw a very light line right across the center because that's where the top of her glasses are going to line up. Next, I'm going to be drawing the eyes and trying my best to keep them in proportion. We often have a tendency to make the eyes bigger than what they actually are, especially if you have a background in drawing anime characters. The eyes are often done really large and big and beautiful on purpose, but if you're going for realism, try to make each eye 1/5 of the width of the whole face. In other words, you should be able to line up 5 eyes from corner to corner and make that fit within the space given from ear to ear. Next, I'm going to be starting the lips with the proportions being that the corners of the mouth kind of line up with the pupils of the eye. So if you imagine a line going straight up from the corner of the mouth, it should hit the pupil or the iris of the eye. There's some variations to this, but that's the general rule for the proportions of a face. Here I'm going to take the height of the head and I'm going to flip it on its side and make sure that it can fit twice within the width of the shoulders. If you haven't heard of Jordan Castile before, she's definitely worth checking out. She does a lot of paintings having to do with African American culture and urban life, and she also did a portrait of Michelle Obama with her just looking glamorous as always. I'm grabbing my HB pencil one more time so I can start adding in some midtones in both her skin and hair. You can see me start to hold the pencil a little bit differently here. I've turned it on its side, so I'm holding it from the very back. This allows me to draw using a field of value rather than using just line work in order to shade in her skin. I'm trying to pay close attention to where I see the light source. In this photo, the light source is coming from our left, so that makes all of the shadows be more toward the right side of the picture frame. So I'm just making sure that I pay close attention to that as I shade in her skin. Next, I'm grabbing my 4B pencil one more time. You can kind of see it. And because her shirt is just black, I'm just going straight for that dark pencil and not really bothering to layer HB or anything underneath that, and just doing a very quick kind of sideways hatching in order to cover a large area of value very quickly. As a last touch, I'm going to add just a little bit more definition into her curls by adding in some shadows that I see, and it helps create that illusion of depth just a little bit better. And I think that is it. So this sketch took about 30 minutes total, if I'm being honest. That's a little bit longer than the last one, but when you're talking about a value portrait sketch, that's still pretty quick. That's it for this video, everybody. If you liked it, please subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos just like this, and give me a thumbs up so that I know that you like these sorts of videos. Special thanks to Gal Doodle and Hemant Arts from Instagram for allowing me to use their examples in this video. If you like their style, make sure to check them out. And I will talk to you guys next time. Happy sketching. Bye. Oh my god, the light in here is never going to be the same ever. If it looks like this is a different day, it's because it totally is.